What's legal that you think shouldn't be? Ads for prescription drugs. Ask your doctor if our pills are right for you. We can't explain it. It just seems very wrong. Ultra-Orthodox Jewish circumcision. Basically, a Jewish priest circumcises young baby boy and then sucks the blood off the baby's penis with his mouth. Kids have actually died from contracting herpes from this ritual. The media releasing the full identity with pictures of people merely accused of a crime. It bothers me most with sex crimes. A life can be ruined by a law enforcement mistake. Doing it has problems, but not doing it also has, in my opinion, much larger problems. If the government can arrest people without announcing it, people would just disappear with no public record of what happened to them. That's a big step on the road to fascism. The UK age limit is dumb. So in the UK, you can legally consent to sex at 16. But movies with uncensored pornography are rated 18. Doesn't make sense. You're essentially saying to a 16-year-old who isn't a virgin that he cannot watch a movie with something he did. Also, you can't drive, drink alcohol, smoke and stuff when you're 16. But you can legally bear a child. American is even dumber. Oh, you want to have a beer? Nah bro, you're only 19. Oh, you want to enlist in the army? Yeah sure, you're 19. Charging people outrageous prices for basic necessities. There should be a basic ration of free healthcare, housing, food, water, electricity, education, and other such necessities. Use some of our tax dollars to improve the lives of people instead of building a wall. If a person wants more than the basic levels, then they can go to the free market to pay for exactly what they want. Smoking. I guess this is more of a thing in countries with free healthcare than ones where you have to pay costs. If you get cancer, it's only you that has to pay for that. I don't want to pay taxes that go towards people's cancer treatment when it probably could been prevented if they just hadn't smoked. Broadly, I agree with you. The challenge I see is setting a baseline for healthy-unhealthy behavior. We all agree that smoking is probably causally linked to cancer risk. I think we mostly agree that eating a sugar-rich diet is causally linked to type 2 diabetes. Is it acceptable to outlaw consumption of sugary substances in some meaningful way? I don't know. I think the same argument for tobacco use applies to a large variety of human choices, though. That is true. The only reason I think smoking is worse than sugar-rich diets etc. is because, certainly in the UK, IDK about other countries, smoking was actually going to be banned, but the government decided that it contributed too much to the economy. I guess it kind of makes sense. But also, if people don't smoke, they're gonna spend their money on other stuff instead. I agree. Remember the brother of Adam Lanza? The one whose face was plastered on the news for hours before they made a correction. With minimal apology, his life is screwed. Not only because of what his brother did, but also because there are people who only glanced at the TV for a bit and concluded that he was the killer. Every time he tries to get a job, he is screwed. In addition to having to deal with all the trauma of his mom being killed by his little brother, and his little brother shooting up the school. I pity him. And I hope he can sue the several news organizations that defamed his character. Eminent domain is one of the most illegal sounding things ever. Someone in the government can just wake up one day and decide they need the land your house is built on for a public project, and they just take it and give you whatever they feel it's worth. There's no arguing with them unless you have the funds to keep them tied up in court long enough that the project falls through. In America, spanking. Where I work as a nanny, it's actively encouraged in a lot of households. People will think your kids are spoiled brats who will grow up to be terrible people if you refuse to spank them. It's also stupid that it's illegal to hit another adult but a child. That's cool. Nicotine. Ex-heavy smoker. Used to chain smoke menthols 1 to 2 packs a day until I ended up in the hospital. 10 or so years later I started up again through vaping. Bought into the whole it's safer BS. It's not. Nicotine is nicotine. It's toxic to the human body and it's dangerously addictive. Ended up with similar health problems again from dueling, and thankfully stopped before it got serious like the first time. I don't care how clean or poison free any form is. Nicotine just sucks and should be banned. Being a Karen. Luckily I think they are making a law that prevents obnoxious 911 calls from them. But their behavior towards other people, especially store and business workers, should just upright be outlawed considering all the emotional and sometimes financial damages done by them. Forcing employees to enroll in retirement plans, allowing 18-year-olds to take out massive loans for non-skilled college majors, not allowing student loans to be discharged in bankruptcy, protesting during a global pandemic, forcing people to visit a doctor and get a prescription for benign substances, rash cream, asthma meds, acne pills, birth control pills, etc. Public universities raising tuition exponentially in order to profit off wealthy Chinese students, when those schools' intended purpose is to educate the residents of that state. University of Illinois is a good example. I'll probably get some backlash, but here goes. Taking a small part of a population and gathering it in one smallish area to control government, especially religions. My main reason for this is in Utah. It is 40% Mormons. In Idaho it's similar, but not as high. 40% of votes go towards whatever Mormon leaders say, which means that, unless literally everyone else actively goes against them, there is no way for that whole state to be completely separated from religion. Utah only banned conversion therapy, which has an absurdly high link to homelessness and suicide, this year, and only legalized gay marriage after the federal government told them they had to, but almost completely legalized polygamy in 2013. With all this in mind, it's important to note that Mormons only take up 2% of the population in the world. I know there are a lot of other situations like this, but being an ex-Mormon and living in that area really opens your eyes to how little your opinion matters in politics. As much as I love Utah, that hive mind is the only reason I'm not living there anytime soon. It's crazy how much influence a small amount of radicals have in a certain area and how it affects literally everything else. In Utah, I'd say the housing market specifically, I don't think it should be illegal but highly regulated. Just because you're in a religious area shouldn't mean that you should deny people of basic human rights. Marriage. And I mean as a state regulated part of marriage. Like, if you want to follow your faith and have a ceremony that bonds two people is okay. If you want to just unceremoniously live with your S/O, it's perfectly fine. But having stupid regulations for it, the government having the upper hand on deciding if you can, and stuff like you have lived together 40 years and have a child, but you're not married, so you can't join your credits to buy a house, that's just BS. Cops taking people's property. They can just say we think it's crime related, not specify or have to prove it in court, and then just take it. I don't remember the term for it, but it's one of many ducked up things law enforcement's legally allowed to do in the US. Cops staging stings to catch people trying to hire a hooker. Seems the opposite way around of trying to stop an illegal activity. Shouldn't I be arresting a hooker instead of the person that is trying to purchase services? Same thing with cops trying to sell drugs and busting people for buying them. Any politician at any time criticizing the media. If I working for a day, yes, I get the irony. Any political figure who utters anything about the media on a public forum has 24 hours to step down or be charged with felony 3 on whatever level they are governing. Mandatory 1-year prison sentence in pound me in the ass prison if found guilty. They are there to police you, not the other way around. Don't like it? Don't go into politics. Alcohol. Why can't we have legal weed that makes you watch cartoons at home, but we can have legal alcohol that makes people aggressive, obnoxious, and all around douche canoes? Not to mention how many traffic accidents, date rapes, and child neglect it causes. I've had my fun with being drunk, but honestly if I don't ever taste another drop of alcohol I'm good, y'all. A nurse at the hospital I was born in dropped me on my head, fracturing my skull. Then billed my parents for the additional treatment required for me to recover. A lawyer then wouldn't help them get their money back because it wouldn't be profitable enough for their firm. hearing about this experience. And 2 more recent ones have wiped away any blind trust for any individual in the medical field. I actually think it might qualify under child neglect laws technically, but it definitely is not enforced in any meaningful ways to my knowledge. Childhood obesity: parents have near enough to complete control over their children's nutrition up to like age 12. At a certain point, weight management exceeds a point of ignorance and we need to treat it socially aggressively. The addictions, habits, and relationships we create as children are so difficult to relearn when we are adults, especially with food. While I don't think it is beneficial to immediately resort to "you will go to jail and your children will be rehomed," we need to be forceful about re-educating parents, establishing strict expectations, building a plan for the weight management of the child, and regularly monitoring that progress. If the adult does not adhere to those strategies, more drastic approaches may be necessary. Similarly, soda and other high sugar drinks should just be straight illegal to serve children under 12. Not to get dark, but child marriages still happens in numerous religions and cultures across the world, and America especially. It's wrong, and many people think that it's okay to pair a 12 to 16-year-old girl with a man in his 40s. If you are in a religious group and you condone or ignore this, you are the problem. I'm sorry you don't feel fine most of the time. Things do get better, I promise. See, for me, I love weed personally because it helps with my anxiety, but everyone is different of course. If weed was to become legal, it would be nice for the companies selling it to put out a list of pros and cons, just so people are aware before they buy it. Harassing anyone. I remember in 2017, so many instances of people following government officials home or to restaurants etc. just to disrupt daily activities. I suppose annoying one person is one thing, but that's detracting from many. I'm not sure that's the direction we want society to go in. I.e., if I don't like something I perceive you as doing or thinking, I can bother everyone in proximity to you. Taxes. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.